Last year, I did a video with one of my friends where we talked about Marvel's Spider-Man 2 and how we had a promising future ahead for superhero games. With some of the new developments that have happened recently, I think it's time that I give the state of superhero games another checkup. Starting out with the current golden goose of the genre, Insomniac Games, it was confirmed in late 2024 that Spider-Man 2 would not be getting DLC and they would be releasing the game's PC port in January of 2025. It was definitely unfortunate to hear that the game wouldn't be getting DLC, especially since there were multiple story threads left hanging that they could have possibly addressed in the DLC, but now we know that this is all we're getting, and we will have to wait for a new game for those plot threads to be resolved. What hurts even more about this though is that they clearly had plans to make DLC for the game, since people found evidence of the DLC in the game's debug menu when the New Game Plus update released back in April of 2024. However, the DLC was likely cancelled as a domino effect of the massive Insomniac Games hack that occurred at the end of 2023. I'm not saying that the DLC was cancelled simply because of the fact that they were hacked and info about it was leaked, but rather the fact that the hack caused a massive change of plans for the studio's priorities, and that included canceling the DLC for Spider-Man 2. Of course, the game did release on PC in January of 2025, but they practically put no effort into marketing the PC version of the game. They didn't even release a PC features trailer or any info about the PC version until a day before it came out. It's like they just completely forgot about it until last minute. Plus, the PC port had a very bad launch, as it had a lot of bugs. There have been several patches since then that have made the game more stable, but this was still a rather disappointing launch. This brings us to present day, where we haven't really heard much from them. We know that they are still working on the Wolverine game, but we still haven't seen any new trailers for the game since it was revealed back in September of 2021, and we still don't have a release window. We know that they have already started the early development process of Spider-Man 3 thanks to Yuri Lowenthal. However, it's still a mystery of whether or not we are going to get the rumored Venom spin-off game. And to be brutally honest here, the more that time goes on, the less likely it seems that it's actually going to happen. Especially due to the fact that the actor who played Venom in Spider-Man 2 has passed away. It is possible that they could have already recorded the dialogue for the game before his passing, or that they could recast him, but it's still a possibility that even if they were planning on making the game, that they may have decided to cancel it for one reason or another. As for NetEase, who released Marvel Rivals, the game was a massive success both critically and financially. And you know what happened to them next? Several employees, including Marvel Rivals' game director, got laid off. This could negatively affect the future of the game in the long run, but if the people who replace them know what they're doing, then we won't have much to worry about. It's still really unfortunate to see that despite how successful the game was, it still wasn't enough to keep these people around. The game has still been delivering plenty of quality content, so hopefully this won't change at any point. Now, to talk about DC for a moment, they have literally nothing right now. Rocksteady's Kill the Justice League already stopped receiving updates, living an even shorter lifespan than the Square Enix Avengers game did, and the only game that they had in development, Monolith's Wonder Woman game, got cancelled, and Warner Brothers completely shut down Monolith's studios. I'll admit, this was one of those things where it was a bit surprising to hear, but also a bit unsurprising at the same time. The fact that we heard nothing about this game for so long already seemed like a bad sign, but also the fact that when they did announce the game, they basically showed us nothing. The trailer that they released only showed us Diana's design and nothing else. There was really nothing to take away from this other than Monolith is making a Wonder Woman game. We didn't even know who the villain of the game was going to be. I really hate such cryptic video game reveals like this, because it's incredibly obvious that they only do stuff like this because the game is too early in development for them to actually show anything significant. If you have nothing to show, just don't show us anything. So bottom of the line is that DC has nothing right now. And if they don't start getting their act together, which it's doubtful that they will at this point, that's not going to change anytime soon. It's really hard to believe that at one point in time, DC was making better games than Marvel, and now they've just completely vanished from the gaming industry, while Marvel is completely overshadowing them. How the mighty have fallen. Getting back to Marvel 1943 Rise of Hydra was supposed to release this year, but got delayed to 2026. I wasn't really surprised to hear about this since it had been a while since we've seen or heard anything about the game, but I actually see this as a worrying sign that the game won't turn out very well. I already was pretty unimpressed with what was shown of the game so far, and the fact that they didn't show any actual gameplay yet has to be the biggest red flag, because they're probably not showing gameplay because the gameplay isn't good. The way that this game has been presented so far reminds me of some of the games that I was excited for but ended up being disappointed in, which is obviously not a good thing at all. Only time will tell if giving the game some more time in the oven actually ends up being beneficial, or if them doing that won't really change much and the game still ends up being a disappointment. But I personally think that the game doesn't seem very promising. In addition to this, it has been confirmed that the Black Panther game was cancelled and that EA is shutting down Cliffhanger Studios. I'm not gonna sugarcoat it, I was pretty upset when I heard about this. Not just because of the fact that the game will never see the light of day when it could have been something great, but also because Cliffhanger Studios was a brand new studio that was created to work on this game. Just think about that. This studio will never even release a single game. They had so much to prove, but got the plug pulled on them before they even got the chance. All of the time, money, and resources that were spent making this studio and working on the Black Panther game will now all be for nothing. This will very clearly go down as one of the biggest what-if scenarios within superhero games. Thankfully, we at least have confirmation that EA is still allowing Motive Studio to develop the Iron Man game, which is a game that I think could have a lot of potential. However, we still haven't really heard or seen much of the game since its announcement. We don't even have a single trailer for this game yet. All we have is this image. For all we know, we may not even be getting this game until the PS6 comes out, which is pretty crazy for a game that was announced all the way back in 2022. We also still have not heard anything about the Blade game. We are still supposed to be getting Marvel Cosmic Invasion this year, and Marvel Token Fighting Souls is set to release in 2026, which I actually think that these two games will actually release on time, since they're much smaller projects than the big budget AAA games. Overall, I'd say superhero games are in a state of limbo right now. All of these AAA superhero games keep getting announced with very little info about them, even several years after their announcement, and they either get delayed or scrapped entirely. I think it's becoming increasingly more obvious that they are announcing these games almost as soon as they get the rights to the IP, and then they end up biting off more than they can chew. These games really are getting announced too early. While it's cool knowing that I have an Iron Man game to look forward to, I don't think it was really worth knowing about it as soon as they started working on the game, if it means that the game is so far away that it might not even release within this generation. I feel like the phrase, "you can talk the talk but you can't walk the walk," is very applicable towards the state of superhero games right now. They try to hype us up with all these announcements and then just ghost us for several years. Hopefully, despite everything, these games will release and turn out great, but right now, it's just hard to be excited when we keep getting left in the dark about these games. That's all I have to say for now. Take care, everyone.